As far as scenic and historical railways go, Britain has no shortage of them. We have the West Highland Line to Fort William and Mallaig, famous from being featured in the Harry Potter franchise, the East Coast Main Line north of Newcastle, with its amazing views of the North Sea, but arguably the most famous railway in our country is the Settle and Carlisle Line. By the way, we have just hit 5,000 subscribers, which is crazy. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed and watched my videos over the last few months. To mark this event, I'm going to do a Q&A video sometime next week. If you have any questions for me, leave them as a comment on this video or on the community post on my channel. But back on the topic of trains, the Settle and Carlisle Line has had a complex history, and even with its impressive infrastructure, it hasn't always been a symbol of pride for the railways. In fact, it nearly even faced closure during the 1980s. It all starts in 1866, when the Midland Railways Settle to Carlisle Act was passed in Parliament. This act allowed them to build a railway to compete with the London and North Western Railway's route to Scotland, now the West Coast Main Line. The Midland Railways line was built through the wilderness. It features 14 tunnels and 22 viaducts on its route. Overall, the construction costed £3.6 million when it opened in 1875, equivalent to £430 million in today's money, and construction was carried out by over 6,000 workers known as navvies, who lived and worked in very harsh conditions and received very little pay. Once the line opened, its success was short-lived. The line's steep gradients made operations slower than the alternative West Coast Main Line route, so passenger traffic gradually began to decline during the early 20th century. After nationalisation in 1948, services continued to decline. The route was much slower than the West Coast Main Line, with London to Glasgow services taking nearly 2 more hours if they took the Settle and Carlisle route. By 1963, it was seen as a duplicate line and recommended for closure as part of the Beeching Acts. The line never closed during this period, but service was cut to 2 passenger trains per day, and all but 2 stations on the line were closed. The final straw was during the 1970s, as most freight traffic moved onto the newly electrified West Coast Main Line, and the condition of the infrastructure on the Settle and Carlisle Line was deteriorating. It took up until 1984 for official closure notices from British Rail to start appearing at stations on the route, which led to uproar from local authorities, rail enthusiasts, and a newly organised protest group known as the Friends of the Settle and Carlisle Line. Their campaign stated the line was required as a diversionary route for the West Coast Main Line, and that it had touristic value due to the natural beauty of some of the locations it served. Their campaign was a success. Stations reopened on the route during 1986. Passenger numbers on the line improved from 93,000 in 1983 to 450,000 in 1989, which ultimately forced the government to reject British Rail's closure proposal in 1989. British Rail was then forced to embark on a project to repair the line's infrastructure, which would otherwise have been unusable. This leads us up to presently. The line is more popular than ever, with a relatively frequent and reliable service between Leeds and Carlisle, running every 2 hours. The trains used are Class 158 diesel multiple units, some of the most versatile trains to have ever run in the UK. But the heroes of the railway still are the Friends of the Settle and Carlisle Line. They are a not-for-profit organisation that looks after the beautiful stations on the route. This preserves the route's history and encourages more people to come and visit. I visited Hellerfield and Ribblehead stations, both of which have independent cafes, and Hellerfield even has a railway memorabilia shop and museum in the station. They also run a trolley service on the trains, where you can buy snacks and drinks, as well as railway-themed souvenirs. The group also provides on-train information and run group hikes along the route. Both Hellerfield and Ribblehead are beautiful and in original condition from when they opened in the Victorian times, and the museum on the platform at Hellerfield is home to the former lever frame at Giggleswick. Ribblehead Station still retains its original station master's house and platform building, which now functions as a cafe and a museum about the line's history. You can now even stay in one of the former station buildings on the line, thanks to the line's friend group again, and the signal boxes at Armathwaite and Settle have been restored to original working condition, and they're even open to the public sometimes. However, the star of the show on this line is the Ribblehead Viaduct. This 400-metre long viaduct spans across a valley in the wilderness with 24 arches. reaching 32 metres above the ground level. It has seen extensive restoration over the last 40 years to keep it safe and usable. It is truly a wonder of the railways in this country, and the masses of visitors on the pretty cold day we visited shows how loved it is. A short walk from Ribblehead Viaduct is the UK's most remote signal box, at Blee Moor. The signalman's car parking space is a 15-minute uphill walk to his signal box. In the winter that must be fun to do every morning. The path continues past Blee Moor. There were loads of hikers continuing, but we weren't as adventurous as them, so we turned back and headed to the station inn. This is another gem in Ribblehead. It's a lovely pub where you can get a drink and some well-deserved lunch after your walk, and there's even rooms to stay in if you want to stay the night, which you should, as the sunrise at Ribblehead is stunning. So as you can probably tell, the Settle and Carlisle Line is an example of how trains can be tourist attractions, and its revival by the line's friend group has made it one of the most famous railway lines in the whole country. And with Northern's cheap advance tickets on the route, travel is easy and affordable, so it's well worth a visit. Thanks for sticking around this far. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video.